Hi guys, this is Oshi and this is going to be my 6 month in video with the Tarot of the Little Prince, which is my series where I talk about decks that I actually had a chance to work with. Everything is going to be timestamped down below. I'm also going to link the the initial, that was a hard word, initial walkthrough and flip through of the deck. So if you're interested in my first impression, or you want to see all the cards, you have that option as well. But let's get into this. So this is the box, but we're not talking about the box first. Cardstock. It is not as bad as I initially thought it would be. I think I was a bit worried that it's going to be a little too thin, but it has, I don't know what type of core it has, because I'm not knowledgeable in cards and cardstock that much, but it has a nice structure to it, I guess that's how I would say it. It shuffles well. If you're a riffle shuffle, I think it would work for you. I have small hands, so I occasionally riffle shuffle and never on camera, and it works really well. But because it's a relatively thin deck, the cards sizes are, the card size is 6.5 centimeters wide and 11.7 centimeters high. So it's a bit smaller, I think, than a standard deck. This is the light series, which is a standard deck, I think. So as you can see, yeah, it's smaller than a standard sized tarot deck, but hopefully the centimeters, the measurements help. And also the deck itself, when you hold it, it's 2.5 centimeters only. So if you have small hands like I do, you will have no problem holding the deck when you overhand shuffle. For me, that's really helpful. I appreciate the size and the cardstock of this deck. And it's not shiny, it has a matte-ish, it's not completely matte, but it has a matte-ish, I would say, that finish. So if that's important for you, then here you go. Okay, the box is a talk box. Unfortunately, it looks nice, and because we don't have a huge guidebook, because this is a Los Caribbean book, it just it serves its purpose. But I really would love to see an upgrade at some point and get a two-piece box. I think I would get the deck again and give this one to someone, because this is such a lovely deck and I think other people would enjoy it anyway, so why not? But just in the future, because I still have so many new decks I want to get. So yeah, but yeah, I think tag boxes are not the way to go. With something that if you keep it in a box, you taking it out all the time, the tag box is going to wear off. And these tag boxes are not made in a way that playing cards boxes are made, where you have that part when you can just, I don't know, it's constructed differently. So even if you're opening it up a lot, it's not going to, suffer from it. And our dog is barking, because why not? So, favorite cards. Before I talk about my favorites, I just wanted to mention that unfortunately some of the artwork was done in a way that is a bit blurry. As you can see, I think you can see on the Six of Pentacles, it's not as clear as, for example, the Knight of Wands. It has a lot of details, but it's very clear. It's the right sizing, but for some reason this feels like this was blown up, and I don't really understand why, because as you can see, based on this, it's not the artwork wasn't just picked from a random book, an illustration from the Little Prince, and put together as a tarot deck. It was created for tarot, at least it looks like that. So because there were no knights who were, you know, oh, what is it in English? I don't know the characters' names in English, sorry about that, but you know, the lamp people, none of them were a knight, so it was created for this deck, so I don't really see why there are inconsistencies with the artwork, but that's just, you know, one small thing. Favorite cards. There are a lot, so I will try to do my best to go through them quickly, but I don't make promises. That one of my absolute favorite is that, I mean, this is the moment after the snake bites the little prince, when, you know, we're made to believe that he's going back to the planet and he's going back to his rose. But it's not a pretty moment, and it's not something that easy to go through. And I think that was really beautifully depicted in that. Okay, another one is Ten of Wands. Why do I have the Ten of Wands? Oh yeah, I know. The Ten of Wands is not my favorite. It's just I wanted to show it because that's the moment before that. You know, this is the moment where the snake bites the little prince. And this is something actually that I didn't really get why the Ten of Wands was this moment. I would have used this image for the Ten of Swords more so. Though it could be that you reach your breaking point, you know, carrying other people's, carrying burden that's not yours anymore, maybe. But still, it feels more like a Ten of Swords to me. But maybe you can, you know, share your opinion on that one. Ace of Pentacles. I really like this because it's not just about a new beginning, but, you know, we have a small tiny rosebud here, but we also have a sheep. And if you read the book, and I think you need to for this deck to reach its full potential, you know that sheeps are, you know, the enemy of the rose. So it's not just about a new beginning and an opportunity that has a long-term potential, but it's something that you need to take care of, you need to protect, you need to, you know, make sure that it's actually working out. And that's a really nice new perspective for me on this card. Strength. I mean, if you know the story of the little prince and the fox, the strength is just it's beautiful because it has everything. How that whole scene is playing out. Ace of Cups, I just appreciate the image and I love that it has all the stages of the butterfly here. You know, it's also, you know, not just one moment, not just one thing about that opportunity, but that it's starting something new and it can grow into a completely different thing, because butterflies go through all these stages of transformation. So even if you use this opportunity and you manage to grab it, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to stay the same when you start the journey. And I really like that. I like the new take on the aces in this one. If you watched my original walkthrough, which is linked down below, you know that I love this card. This was the card that made me want to get this deck. I randomly ran into a walkthrough and this was the 6th card, and I stopped the walkthrough because I was like, I don't care how any other cards look like in the deck, because this is the lovers I will want this deck, because the rose and the little prince, their relationship, the choices they need to make and how different they are and how imperfect they are, it's just so well, you know, it's all represented in the card, and I can pull that information, and I just love that. 6 of Cups, which reminds us to stay, you know, stay useful, never lose that childlike mind, never lose the ability to imagine things. And yeah, I really appreciate, you know, it's not just nostalgia and thinking back about our childhood, but it's highlighting how important is to stay a little bit childish in a good way when we grow up. The sun, I like the sun because it reminded me of, because the little prince can, you know, sit down and watch as many sunsets as he wants on his little planet, because it, you know, it rotates so quickly, and all he needs is his rose. And you can find happiness in simple things. You don't need big things in order for you to be happy, and that simplicity is something that I really appreciate in this card. And I don't have a problem with children, and, you know, okay, naked creepy children, yes, I don't need them, but I don't have a problem at all in children in the sun, with children in the sun card, because since I have my nephew, I know how wholeheartedly they can just be happy for something. And now I pull that feeling into the sun card, that sort of free and innocent happiness that this card can represent. The star, I just like it. I don't know why. I think it's different, maybe more of a pencil drawing. And we have, you know, the fox and the snake, and it feels like they are looking up at the little prince who left Earth, you know, who went back to his little planet. And it has that melancholy to the card, which I didn't realize that I was looking for in a star card as well, because I didn't connect to star cards which has that overtly too optimistic view on things, and I didn't know why, but I think it's because it comes after the tower, and when you were kicked to the ground and, you know, you felt like losing everything, you're not going to experience hope completely and utterly at first. You're going to be covered in a lot of dust and wounds and bruises, and I think that shows well in the card. And the Three of Swords, I appreciate the artwork. I think it looks fantastic, but I really like how, you know, they are all surrounding this delicate rose, you know, and just one tiny move and everything is gone. So it's more like before the Three of Swords moment, but I don't know, I just like it. And it's watercolor, most of the deck is watercolor, so I love watercolor. Are you surprised? Shouldn't be. Okay, so that was my favorite cards. The guidebook, well, the guidebook is the little white book from Los Carabio, so it's the English part is only like 10, not even 20, yeah. Oh, let's see, 20 pages, because we have a table of content even in the first one. And as you can see, because I'm keeping it out, I already have dog ears, which is annoying. But it was very interesting, because I know I don't really like when decks don't group all the minors together when they, you know, take the court cards separately. But for this one, it actually makes sense. The major arcana is usually just the basic meaning of the card, so you don't really get anything extra connected to the story. Even though, you know, for example, the Lovers mentions the little prince's relationship with the rose, but I don't know, for example, the Empress is not, because, you know, there wasn't really an Empress character in the book, so obviously there was not a lot that you could pull into it. So where they could, they included that information. With the Hermit, it was the Astronomer. So that was, you know, I appreciate the effort. And with the minors, I was expecting the same, you know, like the basic meanings, but it was tailored to the artwork and to the story, and it was talking about the artwork as well, at least, you know, for a sentence, which I always appreciate because it shows which part was important for the person who is writing the guidebook. And like I said, the chord cards are separate. And for this one, it means it makes sense because there was a character inspiration for everything. Oh, it's a lamplighter. That was the one that I meant with the Knight of Wands. So, you know, like the Page of Wands is the Raven Man, the Knight of Wands was the lamplighter, the Queen of Wands was the Turkish astronomer. So we have a character inspiration for all the cards. So this is not a bad guidebook actually, but you would benefit from reading the book. And it's a short one. But if you're like me and your only memory about the story is that it was sad because you read it when you were small, be prepared to cry. I mean, I wasn't expecting, but I cried my eyes out when I was reading the book. Reading it as an adult, it's a whole different thing because when you're small, you don't really understand what's going on. At least I wasn't. I understood that it was important, that it talked about deep meanings because the whole fox and the little prince thing stuck with me, even though if I didn't really understand what the whole taming thing was. I didn't understand the relationship between the prince and the rose at all. I know that now. And I've kind of forgot that he had to die in order to go back to his planet, because I think I don't know when we had to read it in elementary school. It was, you know, mandatory to read it. But reading it now, oh man, I cried a lot. So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful story. It's a short one, but it's beautiful. And the story shows in the deck. It's in the deck, so it's not just I'm going to pull a few cards and pretend and call it the Tarot of the Little Prince. This was actually really well made. Even if some of the characters are not that extra special, but it's like the Empress. It's because there was no Empress in the book at all, so you know you can't put that extra layer in the card. But when there was a character that you can connect the image to, it is there. So actually it's not a bad little white book, and because it's so small, you can even keep it around and doing reading, you know, pull it out and just, you know, read it if you haven't worked with the deck enough, and be like, oh, who is this person? Oh, it's the Rose for the Queen of Cups. Ah, okay. And then you know, pull up the information what you know about the Rose and include it in the reading. So I was positively surprised with the little white book, because I have to be honest, when I see that it's a Lo Scarabeo, I don't expect much from the guidebook, because usually they are not so unique. You know, because they are just so small, they only have the basic meaning, and then you're like, okay. But this time it wasn't bad at all. But I highly, highly recommend reading the book as well. There was only one spread, this one. I don't even know if it was explained. To be honest, I can't remember. But there are, you know, an introduction about the story about the prince. Oh yeah, there's a 3 card, you know, where you are now, where you would like to travel to along your journey, and how your inner self can best lead you along the path. So it's not the past, present, future. It's a little tailored a little to the little prince, which is nice. But you know, there's not a lot of there's no basic 3 cards reading. I think past, present, future, or just mentioning that would benefit the book. I'm looking at it as a perspective from a new reader, but from someone who works with tarot, that's not necessarily a bad 3 card spread. Okay, so we are done with the guidebook. Now, deck pairings. Let's pull something else, not the thing. Oh, look at that, 4 of Cups. So my ultimate favorite pairing with this one is the Sacred Creators Oracle. They have similar style, both use watercolor mostly. I mean, some are colored pencils, I think, but for me, they give off watercolor. It might not even be that, but just looking at it. And because of that, they just, they look nice to each other, nice next to each other on the table. And with the 4 of Cups, celebrate your wins. So don't just, look at things you don't have, but look at what you already have. Why is it upside down? Interesting. Imbalance, which is Temperance in this deck, by the way. We have the Page of Swords, who, trying to do a lot of things and doesn't really know where to start yet, because it's the page, it's the beginning of the journey. So finding that balance and driving or trying to achieve that balance is important on the road. And like I did with the Mermaid Tarot, I sometimes, more often than not, let the basic color of this card pull something out of the tarot. And because they share similar tones in color, that worked very well with these two. Look at that, how nice they look next to each other. You are living poetry. And then we have the 4 of Pentacles with the greedy man, which is so interesting. Okay, why is half of it upside down? Changes with the 8 of Pentacles. Oh, interesting. Because the 8 of Pentacles is that place where changes is not something you're supposed to do. It's something you're supposed to resist, because you need to work on what you already have and perfect that. So in this case, changes are not good. You need to avoid them. So like I said, the King of Cups, Fierce Serenity, which is the strength as well. And it has similar background. So yeah, I'm going to stop, but as you can see, they work very, very well. I always had a hard time pulling out other decks when I was working with the Little Prince, but I'm trying to be better at using more than just one deck. So I had to do that. The next one was the When My Soul Whispered Oracle deck. Same idea. It has watercolor, so it matches. And as you can see, Passion with the Page of Pentacles, all the yellows, and also earthly. This is an earthly card, and this is, I think it's a solar plexus, this chakra, but I'm not entirely sure because I haven't worked with this one too much enough. But they just work well. The Chariot, intuition. You need to pull your intuition, your own guides out of yourself, so to speak, to find a way to balance so that you can move forward. Macrocosm, Page of Cups. So many pages. I don't know, I forgot what macrocosm is meaning, so we're gonna skip that. It means not meaning. Okay, come on now. Yeah, I haven't worked with this deck enough yet, so all the chakra cards are still in there, but I'm being honest here. Journey. I mean, I was lucky I didn't really pull the chakra cards all in daily reading or weekly readings. We have Journey and the Queen of Wands, who's looking out, maybe thinking about starting something. Or, I was thinking about maybe because she already reached this point where she's stably sitting on the throne, sometimes she still, misses the opportunity to leave this place and just be a page again. Could be. And look at that. We have Determination with the fox, a beautiful, beautiful fox. I love these rich colors. And the Three of Wands. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it just, it has a fox in this deck. Oh, and I forgot to say that with the cards that all the minor suits are connected to an animal. So I think ones were the snake. Yeah, I forgot. Sorry about that. I just want to say because I think it's a nice touch. The snake was wands. The cups is rose, obviously. The swords is connected to the fox, which makes sense. And the coins are connected to the sheep. So yeah, we have that as well on top of everything. We have Forgive and the Queen of Pentacles, which is exactly someone who would be able to forgive. But maybe, you know, you don't just have to forgive other people, you have to forgive yourself as well. And I love how Forgive has flowers, and, you know, the Queen of Pentacles is surrounded with a lot of flowers. So as you can see, they play very well together and they look beautiful on the table. And I'm visual as everybody else. So for me, it's important how cards look on the table. And I think for most of us, it is important as well. Another one that I, you know, if you watch my videos, you kind of had to expect the Wisdom of the Oracle to make an appearance, because this deck seriously goes well with pretty much anything and everything. And I used it with the Little Prince Tarot as well, and they work nice together. This deck has great keywords. For me, it works. I mean, if it doesn't work for you, obviously it won't work. But if you like using it, it's going to be a great pairing. Ace of Wands, building blocks. You know, you have to take things step by step to build something in the future. Happy with this, I mean, in the reverse with the Seven of Wands. Protecting what yours, and, you know, not being at your happy place. New life with the Eight of Cups. Perfect. You have to walk away from something that's not working for you in order to actually have a chance to live a new life, you know, get something better. You have to leave something behind, so you will have space for the new to enter. And I think that's just, as you can, you know, I hope you can see it, but this works well. And the last one was the Field Guide to Garden Dragons, because I wanted to use my dragon deck. And even though they look different, and, you know, you could say that this is a completely like dragons and fruits and stuff, they still actually work quite nicely. There's a lot going on, so they might be clashing visually for, I mean, for example, here. But for me, the fact that this has dragons, that kind of overrides that need for them to look pretty on the table. I have two other decks for that, because I like the keywords, and, you know, dragons, I'm biased towards dragons. So prosperity with the Four of Swords. You know, you need to take rest as well to prosper. You can't just always go. You need to find that relaxed position as well. Eight of Wands energy, I mean, isn't that perfect? Boundaries with the Ace of Swords, and I like that, because the Ace of Swords shows you a situation for what it is. You get that aha moment with it, and it can help you, you know, draw your boundaries around something in a certain situation or with certain people. Release with the Word. You need to finish something. In order to finish that big cycle, you need to release and let go of all things. So yeah, as you can see, I think they work very well together, even if the artwork not necessarily work together. We have Childlike with the Seven of Cups, and, you know, a whole Childlike and this deck could be an indication that with this Seven of Cups, you also need to reach back to your childhood and think about what your childhood dreams were, and try to find the one that you can actually maybe realize even as an adult now. So things like that. Observe with the Nine of Cups. Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop. But I'm going to leave this on the table so you can, look at something pretty. I think, yeah, I talked about all the decks that I wanted. Next one is how unique this is. Well, it is pretty unique. It's connected to a story. Even if it's Rider-Waite Smith based, it's still tailored well enough to the story, so I don't think I could ever replace it, because I don't think anybody else will make another Tarot of the Little Prince deck. And even if they do, I don't think I would pick it up, because this deck has everything that I want out of the story. I mean, I would look at it, but I love the style, I love the backs. I edged it to this bluish, vintagey blue, because I went over with what is it called? Not sepia, but something like that color, to age it a bit, to get that sort of yellowish tint to the blue. So the edging matches. I like the cardstock, I like the size, I love the lover, so I don't think I would ever replace it. And even though this is right now a summer deck, part of my summer selection, I can see this moving out into a more permanent position at some point. I mean, right now I still have a lot of new decks to work with, but I think, I don't know, a year or two from now, when I'm more caught up with all my decks, if this could be something that would be on my table all the time. That's how much I really like working with this one. And the last question is, did my initial impression hold up? Absolutely. I was loving this deck. I was expecting good readings out of it, and it delivered. It was such a nice find, because none of the channels that I'm subscribed to were talking about this deck when I ran into it. I was not a huge Little Prince fan, because, like I said, I read it as a child and didn't really remember. I just remember the sadness. But I kind of felt like I was meant to see that walkthrough. I was meant to pick this this deck up. And it was even one that I picked up locally, which is only ever happened with this deck. This was, a bit risky, because with Book Depository, I know that I'm ordering original decks, but I wasn't sure, if I would get it in Hungary. But I was lucky, and this is an original one, so at least as far as I know. So yeah, this is a deck that I would recommend for you if you like the story, or if you appreciate the artwork. And even I would, suggest it with the same restrictions, but that you have to like the story, I think, or want to work with the story for a newbie. Because, if they don't care about the Little Prince, what the story is about, then they will miss out on the nuances that cards can have. So even if they can work with it, because it has the elements like the not fastly moving horse for the Knight of Pentacles, you might not know what the shapes are in the story. And, resilience with the Knight of Pentacles, how nice is that? Because the Knight of Pentacles is resilient. So yeah, I will stop, but I'm really enjoying this pairing as well. So yeah, that was my 6 months in longer term experience with the deck. Hope it was useful. Please, if you use the deck or if you don't use it for some reason, please do let me know why, because I'm curious about other people's experiences as well. And if you have similar content, even if it's not on YouTube, maybe you post on a blog or Instagram, or I don't know, Facebook, because I'm even there now. You can find all those in the description. Please do let me know, because I love connecting with you guys and watching content where someone is talking about a deck that they worked with. And hope, like I said, I hope this was useful. please consider liking this video, subscribing, because that helps my channel. It helps this one, you know, getting out to more people. Share it if you know someone who would be interested in working with this deck. And see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.